I never imagined that the sound that would haunt me most would be my own son calling my name. That night, those words echoed in my chest like a bell that refused to stop ringing. I am a grandmother. My hair is silver now, my hands wrinkled from years of cooking meals, wiping tears, and holding babies who are now grown. I thought I had seen every kind of pain a family could endure. I was wrong. It happened on an ordinary evening. The kind of evening that fools you into believing nothing bad could ever happen again. My son Daniel had stopped by with his wife, my daughter-in-law, Maya. They had brought their little girl, my granddaughter, Lily. She was laughing, holding her doll upside down, telling me stories that only a child could understand. The house felt warm, safe. Or so I thought. The trouble began outside. Raised voices, angry footsteps. I didn't even understand what was happening until the door burst open. Men I had never seen before stood there, rage in their eyes, cruelty in their posture. Before I could speak, before I could even stand up properly, everything exploded into chaos. They grabbed my son. Daniel didn't fight back at first. He raised his hands, trying to calm them. He kept saying, "There's a child here. Please." That's the part that breaks me the most. They didn't care. My daughter-in-law screamed. Lily froze, her small body stiff like a statue, her eyes wide with fear. She was watching her father, her hero, being beaten right in front of her. I tried to run to him. These old legs failed me. I fell to the floor, shouting his name, praying louder than I ever had in my life. I begged them to stop. I told them he was a good man, a father, a son, my son. But violence has no ears. Every sound felt too loud. The thud of fists, the cracking of something I wish I could forget, the cries of my daughter-in-law as she shielded Lily's eyes but couldn't shield her heart. And then came the sound that will follow me to my grave. Mom. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was weak, broken. That one word stole my breath. I felt something inside me shatter, not slowly, not gently, but all at once. As if my heart realized in that moment that no matter how old your child gets, you never stop being their mother. Eventually, they left. Cruel people always do. They take what they want and disappear, leaving silence behind like a punishment. Daniel lay on the floor, barely moving. Maya knelt beside him, her hands shaking as she whispered his name over and over, as if saying it enough times could pull him back. Lily didn't cry. That scared me more than anything. She just stood there, clutching her doll so tightly, her knuckles turned white. Her eyes weren't wide anymore. They were empty, too old for her tiny face. When the ambulance came, the house filled with strangers again, but this time with kindness. Still, the damage had already been done. At the hospital, I sat in a cold chair, staring at the floor, replaying every second. I kept asking myself the same question. Why wasn't it me? A mother should protect her child. That's the rule written into our bones. Yet there I was, alive, breathing, while my son lay unconscious behind a white door. Maya tried to be strong. She held my hand and told me it would be okay, but her eyes told a different story. They were filled with fear, not just for her husband, but for their daughter. Because how do you explain that kind of cruelty to a child? How do you tell a little girl that the world can hurt the people she loves most? Daniel survived. That alone felt like a miracle. But survival is not the same as healing. He came home with bruises that faded and scars that didn't. Loud noises made him flinch. Nightmares stole his sleep. Sometimes he would sit in silence for hours, staring at nothing. And Lily stopped laughing the way she used to. She started having nightmares too. She wouldn't let her father out of her sight. If he went into another room, she followed. If he raised his voice, even to joke, she covered her ears. One night, I found her sitting on my bed, tears streaming down her face. "Grandma," she whispered, "are the bad men coming back?" I held her so tight, my arms ached. I told her no, but inside, I wasn't sure. As a grandmother, I learned something painful during those months. Trauma doesn't only wound the person who is hurt. It spreads. Quietly, deeply. It settles into families, into children, into memories. It changes dinner conversations. It changes bedtime stories. It changes laughter. But here's the part I want you to hear. The reason I'm telling this story. One morning, months later, I heard a sound I thought I had lost forever. Laughter. Real laughter. Lily was in the kitchen with her father. Daniel was still healing, still broken in places I couldn't see, but he was there, present, trying. He was teaching her how to make pancakes, flipping them too early, making a mess. She laughed so hard she dropped her spoon. In that moment, I realized something powerful. Evil may leave scars, but love leaves roots. And roots are stubborn. We didn't forget what happened. We never will. But we chose every day not to let that moment define the rest of our lives. As a grandmother, my message is simple. Hold your family close. Protect your children's hearts. And never underestimate the strength it takes to survive what should never have happened. Because sometimes the bravest people are not the ones who fight back, but the ones who choose to keep loving after the world tried to break them.